this one? We have one indoor air quality and how it affects asthma. That one's with Dr. Evans. I have, he's not here this week. I put out a feeler asking him, is there room for resident or student involvement? And I've yet to receive a response. So stay tuned. So the point though, this slide, we've got an active, we've got the infrastructure involved for people interested in research. We've got 2 research coordinators, grants and funding coordinators. We can get people walk through. We can get people walk through the IRB process. So we've got a retrospective chart review that you're interested in doing. If you've got QI projects that you're interested in doing, cystic fibrosis, asthma, complex care, ventilators, we've got, again, the infrastructure in place to assist you with that and the interest. Our QI group meets monthly, and we've got multiple projects in cystic fibrosis going. So with that said, we're always happy to have somebody aboard, but so now we flip the slide. All right. So this actually, very apropos, I just got this a couple of weeks ago. So the CF Foundation is actively recruiting for medical student and, or actually, I should say, at the moment it's listed as medical resident research. So this is a competitive grant process. You'd have to come up with a hypothesis, a study question, and then a research protocol. That's where I come in. So if somebody has an interest in clinical cystic fibrosis research, we could come up with a project, an application. The foundation's offering $10,000 of funding, so that it is to assist you with the cost of putting said program together. And I assume that probably helps pay for the cost of travel to the national meeting to present the findings, because this would result in an abstract and presumably a paper as well. So you can meet me later if you want to see. It's basically any clinical research topic within the realm of cystic fibrosis. It could be basic science or clinical research, usually clinical research for us.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to let Dr. Chandler start. She's our new attending that just joined us in August in our division.
I also have a low speaking voice, so just let me know if you can. 2 projects that are, because I'm new, they are very nascent. So those of you who have more time than not before you graduate, these would be better fits probably. So the first thing that I'm really interested in is implementing child death recommendations. So for those of you who don't know, the Public Health Department in the county reviews all natural, accidental, homicide, suicide deaths of children. The idea is that we review them to elicit any recommendations that might speak to why the death happened and if it was preventable. Those recommendations, in theory, should go to another team within the Public Health Department that should act on them. And best practice would be to involve the community to see how does the community want to act on that information to make their children healthier, their population of children healthier. So that that would be more of a community-based, maybe participatory research project. It will take me a little bit of time to develop relationships with all those folks. So again, that might take a little bit of time. If you have interest in that, please let me know. The second thing that I'm really interested in is policy-based research. So right now, the Center for Health Equity is already getting families linked up with earned income tax credits, so basically more money in their pocket after their tax returns. This is important, right? More money can lead to either, increased access to healthcare, increased access to basic needs, et cetera. So I'm interested in really how does having that increased available funding contribute to their healthcare and potentially to child maltreatment. We know that having more funding can reduce child neglect. So if you are interested in research that informs policy, and then that research would potentially be a platform to advocate, the state of Ohio has not a generous earned income tax policy. So anyway, if you're interested in policy advocacy, find me. Thank you.
Okay, so the other areas really quickly where we have ideas and interest in pursuing studies would be related to sentinel injuries and child physical abuse and skeletal survey compliance. The cost implications of medical child abuse, which used to be Munchausen by proxy, CK levels and all things about that we don't have a lot of data on for children, racial and other sorts of disparities as it pertains to abuse evaluations. And if there's projects that you're interested in with another group, say ortho and fractures, but you think there's an abuse component, we love being collaborative, and even if they are initiating the study, we could participate or contribute as content experts. Any ideas you have independently, you're welcome to bring. We have a number of ongoing projects now that we already have learners attached to, and I didn't want to offer those necessarily to you because I don't think those are as good opportunities as some of the ones that we would like to take on. And the levels of involvement will really depend on your interests, your goals in participating, and how much time you have to contribute to it. I probably should have put an email or even a Twitter handle on here, but I went old school, so there's a phone number. You actually have to talk to someone, but we would love to have you call and sort out kind of what you're interested in and who to connect with. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Krishna Muthiah, GI. I know many, a lot of you. So I have put some projects here that there are opportunities currently, but we would be happy to collaborate on any project that you want to do in association with the GI division. There's currently research trials going on, including drug studies, but not included those because currently at this time there is no role for resident or student involvement there. We have an opportunity of working through the ICN Improve Care Now database. So Improve Care Now is an international collaborative with a lot of children's hospitals, has data on kids with IBD. It's with the QI module, but there is a lot of database information available that can be used if you have questions. As an example, if you want to do research on infliximab levels at the time of fourth infusion, you can get the data through that. So we have access to the database. If you want to utilize the database and you have ideas, please approach us. The first project that's listed here, Dr. Sandberg said that he's happy to support resident involvement through this project. This is a multi-center project in collaboration with the state of Ohio. So this is for IBD disease burden, and other children's hospitals are involved. The project is ready to take off. This is to calculate the cost of hospitalization, cost of surgeries, cost of medical care, and the level of involvement is dependent on the time that you have, and you can help with data collection, literature review, and the manuscript submission process. So this is a cost analysis and utilization research project. The next one is a poster that was submitted this past December, and we were waiting for information from this year. I think the title is intentionally this way for the poster, but I think basically the information is that the number of ER visits for kids who have constipation is dependent on the school year. And this has stayed consistent before COVID and through COVID, and there is further opportunity to add the information from this year and to write a manuscript on this. And this QI projects that are currently available, and we are working on constipation care improvement in the primary care setting. This has been going on for 3 years. In our community, we just started a project with Partners for Kids, where we are working with nationwide children and implementing this in the areas within both of these hospitals. It's colonoscopy bowel clean-out process. There is an improvement QI that's going on, and there is opportunities to work on pH and impedance probe improvement. I included my name here and the contact email. You can contact Sandberg if you're involved, if you are interested in this project. But if you have any project ideas that you want to work with the GI team, you can contact me, and I'm happy to guide or direct you in the appropriate direction.
Thank you.
Dr. Buckness, if you're still on.
Yep. All right, I'll keep it quick. Got 2 projects that are ongoing and one that has potential to be start up from the ground up. But the first one is assessing hypoglycemia risk in infants treated with Propranol for SVT. Dr. Flowers kind of took the lead on that one. We're kind of in the final stages of wrapping up data collection analysis. So that one's just kind of an example of what we've done. This other study that Dr. Rash and Dr. Friedel are working on is PDA surgical ligation outcomes at Dayton Children's Hospital over the last 10 years. They're still collecting data. I would say reach out directly to Matt if you have questions about that and want to become involved. They might need some help in getting some of that data collected. This other project I kind of came up with and approached one of our medical students, very bright guy, who's done a very extensive literature review on Marfan syndrome referrals from primary care doctors to subspecialists like cardiology and genetics. Kind of just wanted to look at this project in terms of kind of what are the pediatricians looking at in terms of concern for referrals for this evaluation, and kind of ultimately what characteristics of patients ultimately lead to diagnosis. There's some literature out there about it, but I think there's some potential for looking into that. So if you have questions about that project, you can contact me and I can direct you to that guy who's done the work on it. So if you attended Grand Rounds, we've got a good, strong MRI program, so there's some potential there if you're interested. I don't have a specific project in mind at the moment, but we have some potential for collaboration with Nationwide Children's Imaging Program to get more numbers for whatever the project may need data collected for. So that's all I got.
Dr. Muriella could not be here today. I'm Michelle Kazee. I'm the ambulatory manager for endocrinology, and so I work with her closely on a lot of the quality metrics. We currently have our insulin calculator right now, and what she needs from residents for that is just provide feedback, concerns, and proposed solutions of things that you see happening on the floors, and then to educate the new residents coming in. We also have currently the microalbumin screening, and so it's a quality improvement project looking at those patients, both type 1 and type 2, that have come in that have had their yearly microalbumin screening. And so again, that's just data analysis and the monthly QI meetings that we have just to discuss this and look on process improvement for that. And then some of the future projects we have is the comparison of ED visits and hospitalizations for DKA or patients that are in ketosis. Pre and post launch of the 6-day magnet, Dr. Meyer is working on this. She came up with a couple of years ago a 6-day magnet that we give to all of our diabetes patients, and that they can change the information on there based on what their current ratios are and what their insulin doses are, that they can follow, the patient can follow at home to see, what do I do in case of an emergency. And so Dr. Meyer needs some help just looking back through chart review to see if we've actually been able to decrease some of those ED and hospital visits. And then the other one that Dr. Muriella is working on is the use of looking at urine ketone versus blood ketone testing for our patients on the floors to see if we can help improve or decrease the delay in hospital discharge due to ketosis. And then Dr. Nicholson is wanting to look back at charts and compare those patients, type 2 patients, with their A1C and weight based on patients that got insulin or metformin versus the GLP-1 meds. And then another one we have, Dr. Almazan is looking at patients that were in our behavioral health unit that were identified for thyroid dysfunction and reaching screening on mental health patients. Just kind of looking to see if those results, if we're making any changes or if those are accurate results. And then the last two is the quality improvement project, improving the enrollment of patients with an A1C. We're looking at over 10 for the type 1 patients that are in our care coordination program, and kind of improving that process, getting those patients in, getting the patients buy-in to the program for care coordination to help bring their A1C down. And then improving our transition care. So we currently in our division do not have a great setup for transition care, and as our diabetic type 1 diabetes patients move through our system. And I'll use an example. They were diagnosed with diabetes at age 2. They never really got any training based on their diagnosis. And so meeting with those families, if I'm a parent, I'm looking at 2 years old, I'm not worried about what's happening when they go to school or when they're driving, or teaching them how to call prescriptions. And so really setting up what that transition program looks like, and then putting them off to care for when they're out of house. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janet Velasco. I'm a pediatric hospitalist and IBCLC. This project that we have is really about program development and is a QI project, but could become more if you were interested. Just to give context, the first time we tried something like this, it was a sort of private recruitment. So Dara Yuhas was the sole recruitant. And this time we're going public, so I just want to give you this opportunity to get in on the ground floor before we're just completely swamped. So looking at how providers affect ability to maintain lactation in a hospital setting is a little bit of a new way of looking at things. There's a ton of articles going back into the early 2000s about how pediatricians affect breastfeeding support in an outpatient, but as an inpatient, it's a little bit different. So the two things that are needed as you're developing a program is you need to prove that there's a need and you need to prove value. So Dr. Yuhas getting involved 4 years ago, what has come out of that is we reworked the EPIC EMR in how we ask questions and screen patients. We've built new templates for measuring intake and outtake. We are now looking at race and breastfeeding through a different lens and a different viewpoint. Patient experience, marketing, EPIC have all become involved. We've rebranded from the dietary department to clinical nutrition and lactation. And we've gone from about 200 lactation visits a year on pace for about 1,800. So again, the first public offering, chance to get in.
Hi, I'm Samantha Newmeyer. I'm one of the PHM fellows, and I feel very underqualified to be up here right now. I do have one project that I'm looking for help with getting started. Dr. Bashirjani, one of our neurosurgeons, has offered to help all the fellows out with our projects relating to clinical medicine. He has a lot of resources and knowledge with statistics. So my thought is to look at kids with community-acquired pneumonia in the age group less than 5. We know that viruses are the most common cause of community-acquired pneumonia in this age group, but how many of us have seen them started on antibiotics the first time they're seen? So looking at a retrospective study, trying to prove non-inferiority for kids who are not given antibiotics to those that are, is the thought process. Looking for help with lit review and chart review. So my email's there if you are interested.
Dr. Al-Dukheim, are you still online?
Yeah, hello. So my project here, do you hear me?
Yes.
Very good. So this project is a QI project. We are trying to improve the pneumococcal vaccination counseling in patients with nephrotic syndrome, because as you know, nephrotic syndrome usually is at high risk for especially like encapsulated organisms like pneumococcus. So the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and KDIGO recommend vaccination with the 23 valent pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine after the patient usually completes his series of PCV 13 like below 2 years old. So our despite this recommendations, still we see that many children don't receive the vaccine mostly because the lack of awareness between, among primary providers and also nephrologists. Our project then, the overall goal is to improve this rate of counseling to patients, and maybe the resident role could be kind of communication with primary providers, with families, like attending like monthly meeting, and maybe evolve to write abstract or something like that in the future, like that.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Hi there, how are you doing? My name is Lionel Chow, I'm one of the hematology oncologists here. And I just wanted to present sort of a couple things about our division. So we're four of us, Dr. Wright, Dr. Doley, Dr. Courtney, and myself. Many of you may know that a lot of clinical research that occurs in hematology oncology occurs kind of at a national and almost an international level because of the large studies that we do. So we are all members of the COG, Children's Oncology Group, and most of our clinical studies go through them or other consortia. So at that level, it's kind of hard to have like residents involved. However, we are all kind of interested. We all have different areas of interest. You may know that I'm particularly interested in neuro-oncology, and I'll talk about a little project there in a second. Dr. Wright's interest is particularly in thrombosis and hemostasis, so bleeding and clotting. Dr. Doley runs our sickle cell clinic, and then Dr. Courtney is your resident education coordinator, of course. We all are interested in little clinical projects. I don't know if Daniel here. So we have, for example, a project that I work on with Daniel looking at cisplatin or platinum drug induced hearing deficits that is very common. And what we wanted to do was in that project is sort of to get a landscape of what the morbidity from cisplatin is in our population here. And the reason I was interested in that is that there was a drug that just got FDA approved 2 weeks ago that is geared towards preventing that ototoxicity. And we want to sort of get a before and after picture, right? So this is the before picture. All right, so those are the kinds of projects that any one of us could be interested in working on you with. Now, in particular, one of the things that I'm here to do was to set up a lab to do a little bit of basic science research. And Jacob Phillips is actually a lab research assistant that I just hired. So raise your hand. So an example of a project that we could do in a lab is I'm particularly interested in the group of tumors called CNS embryonal tumors that are very high-grade tumors that occur in particularly younger children and they have an overall poor outcome. Right now, therapy is really non-specific for these kids, but it is known that certain growth pathways are active in these types of tumors, for example, the MAP kinase pathway and the PI3 kinase pathway. And we have, through Dr. Lober, our neurosurgeon here, we have a number of different brain tumor samples that have been banked in his lab. And one of the things that I would love to do is to kind of go through that bank, pull all of these tumors out, and then start probing them for the MAP kinase and the PI3 kinase pathway. And that would involve things like doing Western blots and immunohistochemistry, looking at activation of these pathways. And the reason that this is really relevant is because there are FDA-approved drugs as well as many investigational drugs that are targeting both the MAP kinase and the PI3 kinase pathway. So eventually we could move into, and this is what Jacob is here to do, move into animal models to try to see if those drugs would actually benefit or decrease the growth of these tumors. So it's very basic science, but with a translational bent, a little bit different from other things that you've heard so far today, but hopefully that's the direction that we're moving in. Thanks.
And Dr. Van Osteren had some scheduling conflicts, so couldn't be here today, but there are some projects in the NICU. So these slides will be available for you guys. So if you're interested, then you can email her. So for now, there's refreshments up here, some desserts and things like that.
But then if you guys could, starting over there, just say which table you are, just so everyone knows kind of where things are set up right now. So Cynthia,
Endocrinology.
endocrinology,
Cardiology.
cardiology, GI,
Neurology,
neurology,
psych,
okay, psych and behavioral health.
developmental peds and hospital medicine.
Pulmonology, but Dr. Mueller.
Dr. Mueller had to leave too.
We'll take that table.
And then we have hematology, oncology up here.
We have foster care and child advocacy.
Oh, okay.
And lactation.
And lactation supported here.
Yes.
And then Marcus, do you guys have a?
Oh, yeah, we're psych behavioral health.
Oh, we already did you guys. Okay. All right.
Just want to say one real quick. Laura just talked about data, and one of the things we have to look forward to is that Nathan Yakic, who's our biostatistician in the Center for Health Equity, next month will be going up to EPIC to be trained to be our expert in Cosmos. Cosmos is the EPIC big data set that has 162 million patients in it. So if you have a question that you want to answer, that could be a potential resource as well to think about secondary analysis of existing data.